histograms are a good thing, and you should create, you should let Oracle create them. Sure, you heard that.
No, I didn't say that.
Good to know that you are paying attention. Okay. We're nearly there, folks. I know
Excuse me, I'm just writing something down.
It's getting warm in here, so I'm going to keep us moving. We're going to move on and we're going to talk about functions and the placement of those functions. Pretty simple query. How many packages of bounce software, closed software goodness did we sell? Pretty straightforward. Select from the sales table. 2char on the product ID, which is passed to us as a string from the application. Product ID is 139. There is a B-tree index on the product ID column. So we should be able to look up an equality predicate on our B-tree index super fast. What did we do? Index fast full scan instead of an index range scan. What's an index fast full scan? It's basically the equivalent of a full table scan, but just we scan the index instead of the table, right? It's not what the efficient way to pick out one value from that index. Is it a cardinality problem? Well, let's look at the estimated number of rows, the actual number of rows being returned. We're not actually that far away. We're in the ballpark, so it doesn't look like that's the problem. But if we look at what Oracle interpreted the where clause predicate to be, and hopefully it's not too far down the screen that you guys can't see it, you'll notice that there's an additional filter in our access predicate, the where clause predicate that should have told us how to get the data, has turned into a filter predicate. That means we need to scan all of the data and then apply the filter instead of using the filter or that predicate as an access predicate. In other words, telling us where to get the data. So why is it being applied as a filter? Well, it's being applied as a filter because we're needing to run an internal function on that in order to do a data type conversion. Now, why are we doing a data type conversion? We had a 2char there. Well, if we look at the table, what is the product ID column data type? It's a number, right? But the literal value being passed in was a string. We are going to have to convert every entry in the index on the product ID column into a string in order to be able to do the comparison. I love it. What if I change my query and I put the inverse function on the other side? What if I moved the function away from the column and I put it on that string and I made it a 2 number? You make it a 2 number, you get your index range scan. Okay, so you're exactly right. That's exactly what you want to do. The point of this whole tip is to make sure you place those functions on their appropriate part of the where clause predicate. If you want to use indexes, if you want to get partition pruning to occur in your environment, you are going to have to make sure that you don't put those functions on the column, but you put the inverse function on the literal values on the other side of the equality, or the other side of the where clause predicate. This is also not just about getting the right access path. You also want Oracle to be able to do some transference among the predicates. And what I'm trying to do is basically allow Oracle to use logic. Do you remember those classes that you took in college if you went to the same school I did? You know, if A equals B and B equals C, therefore you could say A equals C, and all that goodness and it gets more complicated. Well, the Oracle Optimizer developers are specialists in that. They love that stuff. I was going to say something else, but let's use stuff. They love that stuff. And they use it all over the code in order to be able to defer additional pieces of information that you haven't told them. Right? So they listen very carefully to everything you tell them, and then they try to defer additional pieces of information out of what you tell them. So if we said that a function on A is equal to B, and A is equal to C, we can't defer any information out of that. If you were to rewrite the query, though, and say that A is equal to the inverse function on B, and A is equal to C, then we can defer, or use this transitive predicate technology, that's what we call it, to say that C is equal to the inverse function of B. See what I'm trying to say? By not even telling us, if you write the query correctly, we're able to defer the information, additional information to what you've already told us. So be super careful about these functions. because they do blind the optimizer. They prevent us from being able to always determine a good NDV, and they also require us to do additional work if you place them on the column, and then we are going to have to do all of that translation, changing all of those product ID numbers into chars in order to be able to do the comparison. Okay, so think about it carefully and place your functions carefully. All right, Jonathan, eat that one.